Hello, algebra students. This is a lecture on slope and rate of change. This is the introduction to these concepts. And so let's talk a little bit about the purpose of them. Essentially, when we are discussing how steep something is, let's just say like a house roof, for example. When we talk about how steep something is, we want a numeric mathematical way to talk about how steep it is. Like we want to compare that roof to maybe this roof or this roof, and we want to say, hey, how steep are these objects? And the way that we're going to do this algebraically is to talk about something called slope. So what is slope? It's the ratio of the vertical change to the horizontal change. How much does it go up compared to how much does it go left to right? Okay, we're going to refer to the vertical change as the rise and the horizontal change as the run. I also want to point out that slope, for whatever reason, is always, we use the letter M to represent slope. It's not S or something that you might think. You're going to see things like M equals all the time. That M is going to be referring to slope when we are in algebra. We've got a couple different ways that we can refer to slope. Remember, M. You're going to hear it referred to as the change in y over the change in x. Why is it referred to change in y over change in x? Well, remember, y is the vertical change. How much is it moving up and down? And x is the horizontal change. How much does it move side to side? You'll also hear me say rise over run a fair amount of time. Going back to this idea, right? How much does it vertically change? How much is the rise? How much does it horizontally change? How much is the run? And then this formula here is an important one. This formula is called slope formula. Of course, because it's the formula that helps you calculate slope. The formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, or divided by x2 minus x1. Slope formula is going to be used when you're given 2 points, 2 coordinate points, with numbers in them, right? So this is going to be, the first one is going to be x1, y1. That's ugly. x1, y1. And the second point will be x2, y2. So what you're going to do is you're going to take the second y and subtract the first y. And then divide that by the second x value minus the first x value. Before we do that, slope can have four different labels or characteristics that we're going to use to describe it. We can use a positive slope, or an object can have a negative slope, or an undefined slope, or a zero slope. When you are looking at the positive or negative, you're always reading them from left to right. So as you go from left to right, is it going up? Yes. If it's going up, then it's a positive slope. As you go from left to right, is it going down? If it is, then it's a negative slope. An undefined slope is a vertical line, and a zero slope is a horizontal line. So here's just kind of like a little word problem. A ramp has a rise of 15 inches and a run of 54 inches, right? It's going up 15, and it's going over 54 inches. What is its slope? Well, you would do the rise, which is 15, divided by the run, which is 54. Now, you always are going to have to reduce your fractions. This is not going to be an acceptable answer. They're both divisible by 3 for sure. So if I divide them both by 3, I would get 5 over 18, and that would be my answer. The most common questions in your homework are going to look like this, where I give you 2 points and ask you to find the slope. Remember, you are going to be using slope formula for this right here. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. The first point we'll call x1 and y1, and the second point we'll call x2 and y2. I will point out that it doesn't really matter which point is the first point and which point is the second point. but we always write it as y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And we think of the first point as the x1, y1, and the second point as the x2, y2. You're going to want to be really careful here with your negative signs because there will be plenty of them. You're just going to have to write it out and be very deliberate, very take it easy, and think through it. -1 is the y1, and then you're going to subtract. Sorry, -1 is the y2, and then you're going to subtract the y1, which is 3. And you're going to divide that by taking the second x, which is 2, and subtract a -1, and then you're going to simplify this. Go with the numerator first. -1 minus 3 is -4. And 2 minus a -1 is a +3. So our slope here is -4/3. If we were to think about it, and we were to actually plot these points, what we're saying is for every point it goes down 4, it also goes over 3. Same idea here. We have our point. This will be x1, y1. And this will be x2, y2. And we'll just use slope formula, being very aware of our negatives. You have a -1, then we minus y1, and y1 is 5, over x2 is 6, minus 3. -1 minus 5 is -6, and 6 minus 3 is 3, giving us a slope of -2. Here's another one. Why don't you guys go ahead and pause it here and try this one. Make sure that you're able to get the right answer. 4 minus 4. Remember, this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So you have 4 minus a 4 over 4 subtract a -2. Well, 4 minus 4 is 0, and 4 minus a -2 is 6. If you go ahead and type in 0 over 6 into your calculator, you will get 0. So if we think about a 0 slope, we go back to this slide here. This is a 0 slope problem. The 2 points that we were given make a horizontal line, and you will have to tell me that horizontal lines are 0 slopes, and you'll have to say for problems like this, 0, this is 0 slope. You'll also have to know that this is a horizontal line. Pause it here, go ahead and try this one just the same, see how you do. You should have gotten here, -4 over 0. And this is if you type this into your calculator, you're going to get an error. It's going to say undefined. This is the problems that we have undefined slope. The error probably says like divide by 0 error or something. You're just never allowed to do it. So this is an undefined slope. It's not a 0 slope like many people write because you're never allowed to divide by 0. You did not get 0 in that problem. That's all I have for you guys. Let me know if you have any questions.